Another summer day of heat and humidity, and we've got a couple more coming up and some thunderstorm chances in the mix, too. I'm sitting in some thunderstorm activity right now, even as I speak. And of course, we have Tropical Storm Erin, and we're going to take a look at what's going on and where we think it's going to be going. That is all on the menu tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. You can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Do your Amazon shopping using our referral link. It's on the descriptor to this podcast. It's on my YouTube channel right under the title of this podcast, the actual video. Just click and shop. Amazon throws us a little bit of coin for sending you there. You don't have to buy anything specific. Just do your regular Amazon shopping, and it doesn't cost you 1 extra cent out of your own pocket. And it keeps the live version of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast commercial free. And I know everybody likes that. And Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. It's very easy to install. Even I was able to do it without any difficulty. And you can use the coupon code that we have, summer 2025, because if for whatever you purchase on the Tempest website, because they have lots of weather gadgets and gizmos, use that coupon code, because you know what, Joe Rayo? They're going to get
10% off. I love the word gizmo.
Gizmos, yes.
Yes.
I want to start this program tonight, this podcast, Joe and Joe, by offering you my deepest condolences and my deepest sympathy over the fact that AOL is discontinuing its dial-up service. I even am wearing black tonight in mourning with you for this great loss. Probably the only greater loss was the end of the rotary telephone.
Well, so anyway, we're also looking at the end of Eastman Kodak, probably, too.
Yes. Well, you know, the thing with Kodak is, and it's funny because you see this throughout the world and industry. When a new technology comes along, it's always the old behemoths that are just standing there, and they do everything they can to resist the old technology. And that's pretty much what Kodak did when suddenly everything became digital. There's a list of companies a mile long that no longer exist, or if they do exist, they are a mere shell of their former selves, like Xerox, for example, which is still around. I think it's like a $3 stock now. I mean, this was a company that was huge. Kodak used to be a part of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, so there you go. So you still have a Brownie?
A Brownie camera?
Yes.
I actually had, and I really am PO'd that I don't have it anymore. I had my grandfather's Kodak camera. This is the one with the bellows that opens up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure it must be worth quite a bit now, but
oh yeah,
I don't know what happened to it, but I actually used to take pictures. It took 620 film. You know, you remember you used to buy film for an Instamatic, it was 120 or 118. Sure. It was like, this was 620, and the roll of film was about that big. But c'est la vie.
Technology, Joe, technology. So
I even have a camera for my high school graduation. My mom bought me a Nickermat 35 millimeter single lens reflex camera, and now what good is it?
Yeah. David Fuller hits the tip jar. Thank you, David, for being the first to do that tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Tropical Storm Erin. I think I have it figured out. I've kind of come to a decision about this. You might agree or somewhat agree or slightly disagree or violently disagree.
Well, I thought our good friend at the National Weather Service here in New York Bill Goodman came up with a great discussion or synopsis about what he thinks is going to happen with that storm in the coming days ahead and in the next week or two. So, eventually we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Well, might as well get started with this as I got the maps all set up, and there hasn't really been a whole lot of change in Erin. The visible goes to the infrared after sundown, and you can see it looked kind of ragged all day long. And you're starting to see a little bit of convection blowing up in the last few hours in the southern quadrant and also in the northern quadrant. It's also moving pretty much straight west or even just a hair south of due west as it makes its way across the Atlantic. It's still very, very small in terms of the coverage of the geographic coverage.
Well, again, and we spoke about this last night, is the fact that, I mean, you tune in on the national, broadcast news services, the NBC Evening News, CBS, ABC, and this is one of the highlights of the newscast, is talking about this storm, which is still more than a week away from landfall, if it indeed even makes landfall, which
Right.
is not a certain bet. But and again, we didn't see this 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It would be just an oddity in the news or a news item, which might not even have gotten a mention on the newscast. But here they're talking like it's impending over the next few days. Crazy.
Yeah, it's going to need another day and a half or so. It's got to get west of 50 degrees west because the ocean water temperatures here are still not that warm. You have some Saharan dust that's in part of the equation. You also have some dry air, which is you could see with the raggedness of the cloud cover, especially on the edges where you see these breaks, these rather wide breaks, and not a concentrated core is not quite there, but it does have a well-defined low-level circulation. There's not no wind shear going on, so from that standpoint, it has that working in the direction of where a system that may want to strengthen. But again, I think it needs to get to about 50 degrees west before it's going to be able to do that. And on the last advisory, which was at 5 o'clock, 17 north, 38.3. So it's got another 700 miles to go to get to about 50 degrees west. Top winds are 45 miles an hour. It's moving west at 22. So it'll probably get to about 50 west sometime Thursday morning. And after that, I think you're going to see the system start to strengthen quite a bit. And the Hurricane Center forecast basically hasn't changed very much. I mean, they've kind of shifted it a hair to the south over the last day or so, and they still have it becoming a major hurricane, but they keep pushing the time period back because of the fact that it's been, so ragged looking, at least so far. And I just want to bring this up. I just to give everybody at least a perspective of what I think is going to happen. You know, After looking at all the models today, and what's kind of remarkable is the fact that all of them are very consistent with this idea. The only question in my mind, in terms of the differences, would be if it's a little bit further to the left. I still think ultimately it winds up the same way. And what you have in the setup is you have this east-west upper high that's going to split in two. One center is going to be in the plains, and they're going to get heat out of that. And the other center is going to be to the east of Erin, and in between is basically going to be an escape hatch, an alleyway for it to turn northward. And then, of course, if you go up into New England, you've got northwest winds around a deepening low, upper low in eastern Labrador, and a strong northwest flow out of Canada. So I think, to me, unlike some of the prior runs the last few days that were indicating that the flow in eastern Canada was going to be different than what's being modeled now, unless it radically goes back to that, which I really don't think it will do. Um, I'm favoring the idea that this will pass north of the islands, north of Puerto Rico by a good solid, a solid distance, and then make the turn through that opening that you want to call it an escape hatch. Uh, but there you have it. I kind of think that the GFS's profile here pretty well says how this is going to play. And this would be sometime next Monday, by the way. So we're talking 6 days from now. And I know that there could be things that change over the next few days, but I'm just I don't know. I just don't see it here.
Well, as I said, our friend over at the National Weather Service, Bill Goodman, came up with a very good, I think, indication as to, or synopsis as to what he thinks is going to be taking place with this storm system. Uh, he notes that the European uh, has continued to trend farther to the south, which each cycle with its track and the overnight HAFS models went even
Yes.
further south, showing tropical storm impact to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as the center passes just north over the open waters of the ocean. A track as far south as the HAFS could up the ante for some part of the Bahamas and the East Coast beyond that time frame, as it is really uh, farther to the south, and that would lead to a much better recurve out to sea or no recurve at all. The
Well,
GFS, as you mentioned, Joe, the GFS cycle has the storm coming rather close to Bermuda, or even hits Bermuda, but Bill says he thinks that's out to lunch, happening way too soon. And the Hurricane Center right now seems to be keeping all of its cards on the table for all land areas and its potential path. And well, what can they say except that we'll wait for the next run and keep an eye on
well,
what may happen in the days to come.
well. Look, the way it goes further south is if it stays ragged and doesn't really develop. And I've been running the European loop while you were speaking, which shows a weaker system, which is still pretty much a tropical storm as it approaches the islands. Maybe it becomes a hurricane once it gets to the east of 60 degrees west. And the day run was about the same. I mean, it's a little bit further, a shade further south, but ultimately it still has the same notion where it's going to turn, northward, passes just west of Bermuda, and then heads up. At least on the European, it goes up toward Newfoundland. And by the way, if that does happen that way, where you get the hurricane to go up into Newfoundland like the European has, we're probably going to see some really nice dry air and cool air coming in for the middle part of the next week after the hurricane goes by. But the question is, is that the case? That we wind up with a weaker system, and
And one of the, yeah, keep going,
go ahead.
Joe.
No, I was just going to say, again, if we wind up with something that stays weaker longer, it'll probably go west and stay further south for a longer period of time. But it still doesn't change the fact that you're going to have this upper ridge in from the Atlantic to the plains that's going to split in half, and there'll be an opening for it to exploit and move and turn northward before it even gets anywhere close to 70 degrees west.
And as I've pointed out, the last few years, I don't know what it is, but for the last few years, you talk about, where would be a good place for a hurricane to make landfall. And of course, people will say, oh, Florida or the Bahamas or the Outer Banks of North Carolina or whatever like that. But the place or region where we have seen a lot of action from the tropics in the last 2, 3 years has been Atlantic Canada. Nova Scotia and Newfoundland have had more than their fair share of hurricane activity in recent years. And as Joe just mentioned, if this storm takes the right kind of track, then maybe the only landfall that it makes as it curves up to the northwest, north, and then eventually northeast might be Newfoundland. And that again might not happen until later next week. And I agree with you, Joe. If there's any kind of baroclinicity intensification as the storm comes to the north, that system, if it's positioned somewhere over Atlantic Canada, will draw in a wonderful, refreshing northwesterly flow and bring in some nice, cool, dry air in time for not this weekend, but the following weekend. That would be, we're talking about the weekend of the 22nd and the 23rd and 24th of August, if that
All right.
all plays out. So we'll see.
I have the HAFS model up on the screen also, and I can tell you right off the bat, one thing that's wrong with it is the fact that I have it. The frame that's up there is for 8 o'clock this evening, so 9 minutes from now, it has a 978 Category 1 hurricane. And we know that's not there anything close to that. And I'm going to move it along. It's a little bit tough to see as far as I wish they would make the highlights of the land masses when it gets close enough to land. When I run it, further west, so that we could get a little bit of perspective. At this point, it's only at 19 degrees north, and this is Saturday morning at 5 a.m. It's at 19 degrees north and 57 degrees west. So it's approaching and it's like I said, 19 north. It's almost a Category 4. So I think that's where this model has it off. Okay, I just don't think it's going to be that strong at that point, and it only goes out 126 hours, and it's sitting close to at that stage at that last stage, it's starting to move northwestward, and it's at almost northward, and it's at 21 degrees north. The other thing I would point out too is when you look at the hurricane tracking model forecasts, they are all, anytime you see them tightly clustered, you have to have a high degree of confidence, and almost all of them turn this northwest, going north of the islands. Even the southernmost track doesn't really come close to, it's still about 675 or 80 miles to the north of the northernmost Virgin Islands, and well over 100 miles north of Puerto Rico. But they all have it turning northward, and some of them have already turned it northeast, between 65 degrees north and 70 degrees north, and that would be a week from today. I kind of think I think if we were in a position where the models were, particularly in the longer term, if we were in a situation where we would see tracks all over the place, then my approach would be different, and what I would be saying then is that, yeah, maybe there's a chance that we could see something come further west and possibly be a threat to the southeast coast of the United States or not. But when they're clustered together really, really tightly like this, going out 7 days where the spread is less than was basically about, except for the one outlier, and that one outlier turns it north, barely turns it north right after it gets to 60, and is already, racing northeastward out of the open waters of the Atlantic. When there's about 150-mile spread between the furthest east and the furthest west track, and they're all going north, northwest, or north, I think it's a pretty good bet that that's going to be close to reality.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the reason why there has been so much talk about this particular system, hurricane or soon to be Hurricane Erin, I think the talk is that the models from several days ago, had been revving this thing up to, Category 2, 3, 4, a very imposing storm system out of the Atlantic Ocean. And I guess people who looking, far ahead saying, oh my goodness, could that possibly be a major problem or could be problematic for the Atlantic seaboard? Oh, we've got to mention this, or we've got to talk about this. And that's why. Again, the first four storms that we have seen so far this season have been nothing to write home about. This looks to be the first really potent storm system, one that really means business, but it could also mean very well that it'll be just a fish storm. And as we just mentioned a few moments ago, if it does make the grand curve or turn relative to the Atlantic seaboard, the only place it might actually make landfall would be, and even that's a bit of a question mark, would be Newfoundland. And, so much for that.
And after a pass near Bermuda, there's the intensity guidance on the screen. A majority of the models do bring this up to a Category 3. I don't think it would be any big surprise if that winds up happening, that we get to a Cat 3 on this. But it still weighs out, so we'll see. We'll see where this goes in the next, tomorrow, and we'll see what the guidance does. I would be I would be somewhat surprised if we wind up seeing any major changes Meanwhile, we still have some air quality alerts from southeast Pennsylvania to southeastern New England. We still have heat advisories up for much of Maine. We still have heat advisories and also some extreme heat warnings in parts of the West. And other than a few flash flood watches in New Mexico, otherwise, I mean, there's weather going on, but we don't have anything crazy. And the counties surrounding Chicago right now are all under flash flood watches and even a couple of flash flood warnings that are going on there. And here's the satellite loop, and you can see thunderstorms there, Joe. A lot of lightning strikes in and around the Chicago area from a line of storms there that extends down into Illinois and into Kentucky. Meanwhile, you can see the lightning strikes around me where I was dealing with an on and off thunderstorm in the last hour and or so. But the Northeast is calm and quiet and actually fairly clear.
So we'll enjoy the calm and quiet. Of course, like you started at the beginning of the show, that you yourself are in line for thunderstorm activity. So hopefully we'll be able to finish this podcast tonight without any sudden interruptions.
By the way, if you look, I put up the radar. If you look in Georgia, there is a yellow severe, so that this way we know you know where I am. There is a yellow severe thunderstorm warning up. That is my county. That's where I am. You see the yellow box?
I see it. It's very at the
I'm gonna see. Make it a little
enlarge
bit. Let me make it a little bit.
large things there. But I see what you're talking about. Yeah, right there. There it is.
Oops,
Whoops.
sorry. I made the picture a little bit bigger. Yeah, so that's Union County. That's where I am, at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And you can see there's some storms there in Georgia, some heavier thunderstorms to my southwest that are moving up to the northeast. So I'm probably going to get some more out of this. And you can see also the activity. Let me get this back to a normal size so I can maneuver a lot better. So here's the stuff that's going on in the Chicago area, the flash flood warnings that are up, and also a few severe thunderstorm warnings from across Michigan into northwest Indiana and continuing down through parts of Illinois and into Kentucky. We also have some showers and storms south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area to just north of Austin and northwest of San Antonio. Showers and storms in New Mexico and in southeast Arizona. Otherwise, the rest of the West is fairly quiet. Storm Prediction Center, it's just about a marginal risk. They do not have any severe thunderstorm warnings up anywhere, just the marginal risk zones that they put up over the Great Lakes. And tomorrow we have it's in the plains. We have a small area of slight risk in South Dakota. And some general thunderstorms being indicated from Maine to Florida. Tomorrow, I don't know. I don't see them. I mean, I suppose they could stick an area of marginal risk, maybe. For Thursday, they got the edge of the general thunderstorm line into northwest New Jersey and just north of you. I think this may be one of those times where maybe they won't be putting any kind of risk area.
It's it's possible. I think that on Thursday, if we see any thunderstorms, any convection, it would probably be in the early part of the day, and we might be done with that chance by afternoon, as a little bubble of fair, dry, and less humid weather comes in from the north and west and set the stage for at least a nice start to the week. A nice day Friday and reasonably nice on Saturday, and then things will start turning sticky or humid again along about Sunday ahead of the next cold front. They'll be arriving early next week.
3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter is being indicated by WPC for much of Pennsylvania, New York State, into New England. There are some areas that get less, though, like in Maine and into New Hampshire and also in southeast Virginia. Some heavier rains in the southern and central Appalachians on the order of up to an inch and a half to 2 inches there. Florida, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. Some heavier rains across Minnesota into Wisconsin and also up in Washington State where we've got some moisture that's coming in off the Pacific. And in the southern Rockies, we're looking at some areas of a half to three-quarters of an inch, and even in some areas, a small area there in southern New Mexico of an inch and a half plus. So, as far as everything goes with our own regular weather, if you want to call it that, I'm going to bringing the European back up and going to with the U.S. view so we could take a look at all of this. So let's go backwards. And there's, your showers and storms. Nothing going on tonight and tomorrow for the first part of tomorrow. The model does fire up some thunderstorms early afternoon in eastern Pennsylvania, northwest New Jersey, and the Hudson Valley, and continues them into the evening. Also, those showers and storms break out across the south and southeast. Not much going on across the Great Lakes or in the upper Midwest. And then the front kind of gets hung up as they've been tending to do the last few months. This one's going to get hung up waiting for an upper trough to go by. So we see some more showers fired up on Thursday, but then it goes out. The next high to the north, we mentioned this yesterday, is not as robust as the one earlier this, over the weekend and until extending from last week. So the wind is going to shift, and we'll probably get a little bit of dew point relief on Friday, particularly from New York City north. But after that, once you go into the weekend, I think it's going to turn very warm to hot and humid again. And it's quite possible, Joe, that we could run a streak of 90-degree highs right through the weekend until this weather front comes through on Sunday. And here's the thing with the hurricane situation. If this were really going to try to come up the eastern seaboard, the orientation of this front that's coming through is not the kind of front you would get if this were going to come up the coast. You'll notice that the northern part of it just kind of moves eastward off to the New England coast and keeps on going. And I think, if this were going to be something that was going to be a problem, that front would be more north-south oriented and probably stall out through the mid-Atlantic states. So the surface doesn't look like the kind of surface you would see with a storm that was going to come up the eastern seaboard. And when I say go up the eastern seaboard, I mean literally go up right along the immediate coast. So we have that. And you can see the Europeans got the hurricane almost to 70 west, and then it turns it northeastward. It passes a fair distance to the west of Bermuda as a Category 4, and then it goes northeast from there, heading toward Newfoundland. And we're left with some drier, cooler air behind it.
Right, and in fact, CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, is suggesting sometime about the middle of next week, on through the balance of the week, we will be seeing a flow of cooler air. The probability increasing for cooler air, less humid air, dry air. So it looks like, and I think I made allusion to this last night, while it'll be nice to see a little bit of a break for this upcoming weekend, it's short-lived. We'll have to wait until probably the middle of next week. The next cold front, after this one coming our way later this week, the next cold front is going to be the one that's going to be delivering what looks to be truly a nice, cool, dry air mass into our part of the country.
All right, you have Briller Jeopardy?
Yes, I do.
All right, while you're loading, while you're getting it ready, I just want to say hi to everybody on the chat board, and also to those of you who are watching in the background tonight. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are off days unless there's a storm around or threatening, in which case we would let you know about it. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And if you like tonight's show, you can show that you like tonight's show by hitting the like button, which would be nice. And we thank you for doing that, those of you who have. The other thing, just real quick, let me make sure I just want to check something. DeMonte Roberson, thank you for hitting the tip jar. I'm sorry, I saw you come up before and then I forgot to say thank you. So thank you for hitting Super Chat. And then David Fuller hit it earlier. And thank you, David, once again. So we're still on the hurricane theme?
Yes, we are on the hurricane theme with Briller Jeopardy tonight. And after we finish Briller Jeopardy, let me just say a few brief things about the Perseid overhyped meteor shower that
Yes,
I've been
please
seeing
do.
all over social media. And I'm as a lot of people know, Joe, I'm very much into astronomy. I love promoting astronomical events, but this one tonight, really, if you listen to some of the reports I've been seeing, both on the internet and also on some TV stations as well, you would expect that there's going to be a grand and glorious display of shooting stars. Not so, not necessarily so. We'll get into that in just a moment. But on Briller Jeopardy tonight, the topic is retired tropical names by letter. And we've got the first two letters of the alphabet, A and B. And so the question is, and there are 7 of them for A and 4 for B. If you want to try naming the retired names, go right ahead.
Okay. So we could start with the board is starting with Alan and Andrew, Bobby Livingsworth, Rich Rothmansky, Chuck Cardillo, Latex Dreams, Mike Waterhouse Bonsai. We don't have. I don't think we've had a Hurricane Alphonse Ruben Fairchild. So there you go. So
Ruben Fairchild is still trying to figure out the answer to his question he was posing. He said birds seem to know, wildlife seems to know when a hurricane is going to move into a specific region. What about the fish? We talk about fish storms.
well, they go to the deep. They go back. They swim out to deeper water, which is not as turbulent.
And Mr. Fairchild, when you gave that answer, he said, "What do you mean by that?"
There you go. Exactly. Uh, Also Agnes. So
I
we
like
have
Rich Rochmansky says the fish all text each other and look for safe waters.
right. Exactly. They get their notifications because
Yes,
they're also lurking in the background here tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast.
right.
We're very popular in the orca community. So we've got Agnes, Andrew, Alan, correct?
We've got Agnes, Andrew, and Alan. Yes, that's 3 of the 4.
And Michael McGuire brings up Allison.
Allison is indeed one of those retired storms in the A. Yes.
Okay. Now for the B. Now we have what? 3 in the B.
Well, we had 7 in the A, and we only got 4 out of the 7,
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, 7 in the A.
and 4 in the
Uh,
B.
let's see. Okay, so we need 3 more A's, folks. 3 more A's. Rich Rothmansky came up with another one. Alicia in 1983.
Right.
All right, so that's 5. So we need 2 more. Did I say Agnes before already?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll give you a
So,
hint, but you have to be as old as we are, Joe. One of the A storms was a well-known cartoon character on local TV. It was in fact one of the Harvey Toons cartoons. Um,
not helping
so
me.
not helping you.
Not
Well,
helping me.
there was like there was Casper and Herman and Catnip and
Oh,
Fuzzy.
Penny
Um,
Salerno, thank you. Audrey.
Audrey, you remember little Audrey? Not to be
That
confused
was a
with
pretty that was a June hurricane that went into Louisiana and upended a lot of cemeteries.
yeah.
Um,
So we have one
all right, we're
more.
doing the letter A here, folks. A few of you are throwing up other letters. A as in apple. Okay. So we have 2 left.
No, we have one left.
Did they? Joe Gaffney brings up when they went that one year when they went to the Greek letter alpha. Well, I don't remember. I don't quite remember if that was part of the list.
No, that was I don't think you can retire a Greek letter, but
Right.
or
We've
Greek.
never had a Hurricane Anthony. I don't think we've ever had a Hurricane Arnold or a Hurricane Apple.
How about
Um,
this? How about this for another hint? She was very famous in the 1960s for promoting orange juice.
oh, Anita. That's right. Hurricane Anita
Right.
in 1976. or seven? I forget.
I think it
Six,
was. I think it
seven,
was.
seven.
Wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. We had. I'm trying to remember. In '79, we had David and Frederick, and I'm trying to go alternate.
Yeah, no, it
Then
was seven. It was 77 because it went. It
77.
was the A storm, and it didn't form until like the first couple of days in September, and it was in the
Right.
eastern Gulf of Mexico and was moving west at 5 miles per hour. The initial forecast, they didn't even have it come be getting much beyond a weak tropical storm, and it was just one of those things where it just got away from them, and it kept getting stronger and stronger, and it got almost to a Cat 5 before it went inland in Mexico, south of Brownsville. All right, so we got all the A's. What's left?
So now we have B, and we need four retired names from B.
Okay. Before we do that, Edon Rama, which I'm sure this has got to be a bot, but in case you're not, you could just put your question once. You don't have to put it 15 times. So Patrick Darcy brings up Hurricane Bob. I don't know. Was that retired?
It's retired. Is it the Bob that we remember from '91?
What's the other
Was
one?
it? Or was there another Bob?
I mean, the only one I remember was the one from '91.
Yeah.
Rich Rothmansky gets Beulah, which I know was retired. So
Yes.
there's only four, you said.
Correct.
How about Joe Gaffney with Bertha?
Bertha, no. Bertha
No.
actually didn't Bertha come up to us, but it was a tropical storm.
Right. Kenny Salerno just it also popped in my head, then he put it up on the board. Betsy, which up until
Betsy.
before
Yes.
Hurricane Katrina, Betsy was the generational storm that everybody there remembered. So we only have one left, right?
Right.
Uh, a few people have put up Beryl, Brett, Barry. I don't think we've
Well,
had a Brian.
well,
Bonnie
the fourth one, number four on our list tonight is Beryl. Yes.
is Beryl. Okay. Well, we got them all fairly quickly, I would say.
Very
Okay.
good tonight.
So that means brush up for tomorrow because we'll probably be doing C's and D's.
Right. Now
Um,
don't go online now and you know.
okay, you know what? Eden Ram, look it up. I'm not going to answer your question. You're being annoying. So on that
It
note,
is.
don't piss me off. Okay, just don't piss me off.
He just
Uh,
I think he is trying to do that, Joe.
well,
It's ridiculous. Now it's coming up over and over and over and over again.
yeah, he's
He
being a
thinks he's being
Richard.
funny.
Okay, he's being a Richard, Joe.
Oh
If
yes.
if you follow my
Okay.
drift.
Yes, I know.
So on
Yes.
that note, let's say goodnight.
Wait a minute. Just
And
let me just
oh yeah,
make my comment.
you're right, the Perseid
I don't
meteor
want to be
thing.
I don't want to be thought as a gloomy Gus here, but I am concerned, as I said, with all the publicity that has been going on the last day or two about the Perseid meteor shower. The Perseids are one of the best meteor showers of the year, and a number of media outlets are urging people go out tonight, watch tonight's annual display of celestial fireworks. And I'm sure a lot of people will be listening and to that and expecting an amazing show. But there's one problem out there tonight. Along with the meteors, there's a bright, and I do mean bright, gibbous moon. It's 84% of full phase and likely is going to hide many of the meteor streaks with its bright light. Now, if you're hoping to see, and the standard for the Perseid meteor shower is about 60 meteors per hour. It's like one meteor every minute. If you're hoping, beginning after midnight tonight, to go out and see something like that, it ain't happening. Not with that moon in the sky. This year, your best hope is perhaps you might catch sight of an outstandingly bright fireball. The Perseids are known for producing outstandingly bright fireballs or exploding meteors. They're called bolides, and they're spectacular. I've seen more than my fair share, and just seeing one of those can make your whole night. However, while such meteors can attract attention in bright moonlight, they unfortunately tend to be few and far between. In other words, you might be sitting out there for a half an hour or 45 minutes or not see a single one. So again, I'm trying to warn everybody. Now, in 1968, the Hayden Planetarium here in New York held a Perseid party, and they held it at the Great Lawn in Central Park. And 85 people came to listen to the chief astronomer at Hayden, Dr. Ken Franklin, as he was pointing out stars and constellations. And they figured, well, as he's pointing out the Big Dipper or the Northern Cross or whatever, every so often we're going to get a meteor shooting by. And Dr. Franklin, in fact, commented, he said, we're probably going to see meteors coming at the rate of one every minute or three. There was a moon in the sky, just like tonight, a big, bright, gibbous moon. But again, the thought was, oh, maybe every minute or three, we might see a bright meteor. Well, according to a reporter covering the event for the New York Times, the actual rate that night was more like one every minute or eight. So, again, you go out, look up, enjoy the stars, enjoy the view of the moon and everything. But if you think you're going to see meteors pouring down or firing across the sky every minute or two, it ain't going to happen. You may see a very bright meteor or an exploding meteor from time to time, but there's going to be a long wait in between your meteor sightings. Next year, there will not be a moon. Next year, in fact, the Perseids come at new moon, and it's on the same day as a solar eclipse. So next year, just like the Dodgers used to say, the Brooklyn Dodger fans, wait till next year. I would say, wait till next year.
Tonight, and next year it'll be cloudy.
And next year it'll be probably cloudy. So
Cecilia Hernandez, really quick before we go, she wants to know is there an astronomy club you can recommend that has events for these sorts of things?
Oh yeah, well there are 3 of them in the New York area alone. There's the Amateur Observer Society. They meet once a month at Hofstra University on Long Island, and they also have occasional stargazing sessions. There is the Astronomical Society of Long Island. They meet online every week on Wednesday nights. They have virtual meetings, and they too occasionally have sky sessions around the area. And right up here in the Hudson Valley, we have the Westchester Amateur Astronomers Club, and they meet once a month as well. So if you go to the Westchester Club or the AOS, the Amateur Observer Society, or ASLI, ASLI, you can find any of those clubs online. You can find them, join them, and you can participate in their astronomical whatever that they have sometimes outdoors.
All right, folks. Everybody have a good rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Night.
Okay, 99, folks.